The Grinning Secret of Timber Bottoms. In the forgotten town of Timber Bottoms, no one was more admired than Henry Reckerton. A man of flawless manners and unyielding charm, Henry was the first to welcome newcomers and the last to leave community gatherings. His home, a pristine colonial house with a wraparound porch, was always open to anyone in need. "Henry's heart is as big as Timber Bottoms itself," the townsfolk would say. But there was something about his smile. It stretched too wide and his teeth gleamed too white, like a predator baring its fangs. Those who noticed never said a word, at least not loudly. After all, Timber Bottoms wasn't a place where people asked too many questions. Timber Bottoms carried an air of unease. The dense forest surrounding the town seemed alive, its gnarled trees casting grotesque shadows even in daylight. Whispers of missing people floated like autumn leaves, but the townsfolk avoided the topic, as if speaking of it might summon something terrible. Every few years, someone would disappear. A drifter, a newcomer, or even a beloved resident would vanish without warning, their belongings left untouched, their homes eerily quiet. But Henry Reckerton was always there to console the grieving. He'd bring casseroles, offer prayers, and lend his shoulder for them to cry on. His kindness made the town's tragedies bearable. One November night, a violent storm rolled into Timber Bottoms. The wind howled like a wounded animal and the rain fell in sheets, battering the fragile homes. Just as the storm reached its peak, a stranger arrived. Lewis Harper, a wiry man with haunted eyes, claimed to be an investigator. He said he was looking into a string of disappearances linked to isolated towns like Timber Bottoms. His questions were sharp, his tone accusatory. "You've all noticed it," he told the townsfolk gathered in the diner. "Every disappearance, every tragedy, they all circle back to him." He pointed a trembling finger at Henry Reckerton, who sat calmly at the counter, sipping his tea. Henry's smile didn't falter. "That's quite the accusation, Mr. Harper," he said, his voice as smooth as honey. "But I'm just a simple man trying to help my neighbors." The crowd murmured, uneasy. No one wanted to believe Harper, but something about Henry's calmness felt wrong. The storm raged on, and Harper refused to let up. That night, he followed Henry back to his home. Hidden among the trees, Harper watched as Henry carried something large and wrapped in burlap into his basement. When Henry finally retired for the night, Harper made his move. Breaking into the house, he crept toward the basement door. The air grew colder as he descended the creaking wooden stairs. What he found made his stomach lurch. The walls were covered in carvings, symbols that seemed to shift when he looked at them too long. Tables lined the room, each one holding strange objects, bones arranged in unnatural shapes, jars filled with twitching black masses, and candles made from something that wasn't wax. At the center of the room was an altar, and above it hung a massive mirror framed in twisted iron. Harper stared at his reflection, but something was wrong. His reflection wasn't mimicking his movements. It was grinning. Before Harper could react, the basement door slammed shut. Footsteps echoed above him, slow and deliberate. Henry appeared at the top of the stairs, his shadow stretching impossibly long. "You shouldn't have come here," Henry said, his voice devoid of warmth. Harper pulled a knife from his coat. "What are you doing to these people?" Henry descended the stairs, his smile widening until it looked as though his face might split. "Timber Bottoms must be fed," he said. "And I am its keeper." As he spoke, the symbols on the walls began to glow, and the air filled with a low hum. The mirror on the altar shimmered, its surface rippling like water. Harper's reflection leaned forward, pressing its hands against the glass as if trying to escape. Harper lunged at Henry, but the man didn't flinch. Instead, his form seemed to ripple, and his skin tore away like parchment, revealing something unspeakable beneath, a being made of writhing shadows and gleaming eyes. Harper screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the mirror. The reflection reached through the glass, its clawed hand dragging Harper inside. The last thing Harper saw was Henry's monstrous form grinning down at him. The next morning, the storm had passed, and the town was serene once more. The diner bustled with activity, and Henry sat at his usual spot, chatting with the waitress. "Whatever happened to that investigator?" someone asked. Henry chuckled. He must have moved on, didn't seem like the type to settle down. In the forest outside town, a new carving appeared on the trunk of an ancient tree. It was Harper's face, his mouth open in a silent scream, forever etched into the bark. The woods had been fed, and Timber Bottoms would remain safe, for now. But Henry Reckerton's smile grew wider, and his eyes gleamed with anticipation. the woods would hunger again, and Henry was always ready to serve.